In life, we often chase after what glitters, yet true treasures lie within. What is it that truly sustains us when we look back at our journey? At 50, life presents an opportunity for profound reflection. We stand at the midpoint of our journey, looking back at what we've gained and forward to what we still seek. The Buddha teaches us that the path to true fulfillment lies not in material possessions, but in cultivating the treasures of health, compassion, mindfulness, and spiritual wealth. This narrative unfolds across 6 parts, each exploring a virtue that transforms our lives at 50. Through stories and insights, we will journey together into the heart of Buddhist wisdom, uncovering the lessons that lead to a meaningful life. The body is like a lamp that carries the light of your spirit. Without tending to it, the light dims before its time. By the age of 50, the reality of impermanence begins to manifest in our bodies. What once felt limitless, boundless energy, quick recovery, and strength now requires mindful care. The Buddha taught that our body is a precious vehicle for spiritual growth, deserving of respect and attention. But too often, we take this gift for granted until it falters. A farmer's awakening in a quiet countryside, there lived an industrious farmer named Paul. From sunrise to sunset, he labored tirelessly in the fields, often skipping meals and resting only when exhaustion overtook him. He believed his hard work was for the benefit of his family, but in truth he neglected his health entirely. One day, while plowing the fields, Paul collapsed. His vision blurred and his chest tightened. His sons rushed him to a healer who diagnosed him with severe fatigue and warned that his body would not withstand this lifestyle much longer. At first, Paul resisted. "How can I stop working? My family relies on me," he argued. The healer, a wise old man, replied gently, "Your family depends on you. Yes, but they need you alive and well, not broken and sick. Your body is like the soil you till. If you overwork it without care, it becomes barren." Paul took these words to heart. Slowly, he began prioritizing his health. He worked with balance, ate nourishing meals, and rested when his body needed it. Over time, his strength returned, and with it, a new appreciation for the simple joys of life: watching the sunrise, playing with his grandchildren, and walking without pain. The deeper lesson: the Buddha likened the body to a chariot, fragile and fleeting, yet vital for life's journey. At 50, health becomes a cornerstone of peace and productivity. This is the age to honor your body, not through indulgence, but through mindfulness. Eating well, staying active, and listening to the subtle signals it sends. Neglecting health does not only harm us, but also burdens our loved ones, disrupting the harmony of our relationship. When we care for ourselves, we ease the path for those who walk alongside us. Health is the foundation upon which all other treasures stand. Without it, life's joys and responsibilities become heavy burdens. To live well, we must first nurture the vessel that carries us through life. A family is like a garden. It flourishes with care, wilts with neglect, and bears fruit through love. At 50, our understanding of family deepens. No longer just a source of joy or responsibility, it becomes our refuge, our compass, and often our mirror. The bonds we nurture within our family reveal the true measure of our character. The tale of the divided brothers. In a bustling village, 2 brothers inherited their father's land after his passing. The elder, Jacob, was practical and focused on expanding the family's wealth. The younger, Samuel, was kind-hearted, valuing relationships over riches. Over time, disagreements arose. Jacob accused Samuel of wasting resources, while Samuel felt Jacob's ambition came at the cost of harmony. The brothers grew estranged, each retreating into their own lives. Years later, Jacob became ill and found himself isolated. His wealth was vast, but his home was empty. He reached out to Samuel, who, despite their past grievances, came immediately. "Why would you come after all I've done?" Jacob asked, tears in his eyes. Samuel replied, "Because you are my brother." Family is not about who is right or wrong. It's about being there when it matters. Their reconciliation rekindled a bond that brought peace to Jacob's final days and reminded Samuel of the power of forgiveness. The deeper lesson: the Buddha often spoke of the importance of loving kindness, metta, and forgiveness within our closest relationships. Family is not merely about shared blood, but about shared compassion, understanding, and support. At 50, we often stand at the intersection of generations caring for aging parents while guiding grown children. This role can be both fulfilling and challenging. But it is through family that we learn the virtues of patience, sacrifice, and unconditional love. The true wealth of family lies not in perfection, but in connection. As the Buddha taught, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. In family, these words are, I forgive you, I am here, and I love you. Health and family are the first two treasures of life at 50. They remind us of the interconnectedness of our actions and the people we share this journey with. When we care for our health, we honor the life we've been given. When we nurture our family, we honor the love that sustains us. These treasures are not possessions to be acquired, but practices to be cultivated. With every mindful breath and every act of kindness, we build a life rooted in the wisdom of the Buddhist teachings. Stay tuned for the next part of this journey, where we explore the treasures of financial stability and compassion, weaving deeper into the fabric of life's true wealth. True wealth is not in how much you possess, but in how wisely you use it. At 50, financial stability often feels like the culmination of decades of hard work and planning. Yet, while wealth can provide comfort, it must be approached with wisdom. The Buddha taught that clinging to possessions leads to suffering. Financial freedom lies not in accumulation, but in mindful stewardship, using resources to bring security and benefit without attachment or greed. The story of the frugal widow in a quiet coastal town. Lived a widow named Grace, who had spent her younger years managing her family's modest finances while her husband worked as a fisherman. When he passed away suddenly, Grace was left with little but her savings. Many urged her to pass her money to her only son for investment. But Grace, mindful of her needs and her son's growing family, chose to keep a portion for herself, ensuring she would not become a burden. She said, "A well is useless if it runs dry before the next rain." Years later, Grace fell ill and required expensive treatments. Because of her foresight, she was able to pay for her care without troubling her son, who visited her with gratitude, saying, "You gave me more than money. Mother, you gave me the freedom to help you without worry." Grace's story echoes a crucial teaching. Money is a tool, not a treasure. The Buddha taught the concept of right livelihood, samma ajiva, emphasizing the ethical and practical use of resources. At 50, financial stability becomes a means of independence and peace, ensuring we can care for ourselves and contribute meaningfully to others without creating burdens. This is not a call to hoard, but to balance, save wisely, spend mindfully, and give generously. Wealth shared with compassion uplifts not only the giver but the receiver, planting seeds of gratitude and connection. Practical wisdom. Maintain a reserve for your needs, especially as health and unexpected challenges arise. Share your wealth with discernment, focusing on causes and people that align with your values. Detach from greed, remembering that financial security is a means to live freely, not an end in itself. When approached mindfully, it becomes a wellspring of peace rather than a source of anxiety. Compassion is the bridge that connects us to the suffering of others and heals our own hearts. At 50, the weight of experience often brings a profound understanding of others' struggles. This is the age when the lessons of the Buddha's teaching on loving kindness, metta, become vivid. Compassion, the ability to empathize and act with selfless care, is a treasure that enriches both the giver and the receiver. In a bustling city, a man named Thomas lived alone in an apartment building. He worked tirelessly, often ignoring his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, who lived quietly next door. "I'm too busy to bother with her," he would think. One winter evening, a power outage left the building cold and dark. Thomas heard a faint knock at his door. It was Mrs. Caldwell, shivering and holding a flashlight. "Do you have a blanket to spare?" she asked. Thomas welcomed her in, offering warmth and tea. As they spoke, he learned about her late husband, her love of music, and her loneliness. Over the next weeks, Thomas began visiting her regularly, helping with errands and sharing meals. When Mrs. Caldwell passed away months later, Thomas found solace in knowing he had brought her comfort. He realized that her presence had filled his own life with unexpected joy and meaning. The Buddha taught that suffering is universal, but so is the capacity for kindness. At 50, we often find ourselves in positions where our experience and resources can ease the burdens of others. Compassion is not about grand gestures, but small, consistent acts of care that ripple outward. Mrs. Caldwell's story reminds us that connection begins with presence. By opening our hearts to others, we cultivate deeper relationships and discover the joy of shared humanity. Practical wisdom. Listen to the needs of those around you, whether family, friends, or strangers. Offer help without expectation, allowing your actions to be pure expressions of kindness. Recognize that compassion also includes self-care. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Compascience forms resimsens mysimsimsia. At 50, it becomes clear that true success lies not in what we achieve, but in how we uplift others along the way. The winds of change are constant, yet the calm mind remains steady. At 50, life often reveals the transient nature of the world. Children leave home, careers shift, loved ones pass, and the body begins to age more rapidly. In these moments of transition, the Buddha's teaching on impermanence in Ikka becomes a guiding light. To navigate the inevitable ebb and flow of life, cultivating inner peace becomes not a luxury, but a necessity. The bamboo and the oaken are a remote village. A wise monk shared a parable about a bamboo grove and a mighty oak tree that stood side by side. During a fierce storm, the oak, with its unyielding strength, was uprooted and fell. Yet, the bamboo grove swayed with the wind and remained standing. The monk explained to his disciples, the oak believed its rigidity made it powerful, but it was the bamboo's ability to bend without breaking that allowed it to endure. So too must we approach life with flexibility and acceptance. John's search for calm. John, a successful businessman, had spent decades building his career. By the time he reached 50, his life seemed perfect from the outside. He owned a beautiful home, his children attended prestigious schools, and his reputation was untarnished. But inside, he was restless. Sleepless nights plagued him as he worried about the future and mourned missed opportunities from the past. One evening, he attended a meditation retreat on the advice of a friend. There, the teacher instructed the participants to focus on their breath. John found it agonizing at first, his thoughts racing uncontrollably. But as the retreat progressed, he began to notice moments of stillness between his thoughts. The teacher said, "Your mind is like a glass of muddy water. The more you stir it, the murkier it becomes. But if you allow it to settle, the mud falls away and the water clears." Peace lies not in controlling life, but in accepting it. Over time, John began integrating mindfulness into his daily routine. He stopped reacting to life's challenges with panic and instead approached them with calm acceptance. While his external circumstances remained the same, his perspective shifted, and with it, his experience of life. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from clinging whether to the past, the future, or ideals that no longer serve us. At 50, we often face the challenge of letting go of expectations, regrets, and even our younger selves. Inner peace comes when we embrace life as it is, not as we wish it to be. This is not resignation, but liberation. By cultivating mindfulness, we free ourselves from the tyranny of what-ifs and embrace the beauty of what is. Inner peace allows us to weather life's storms without being uprooted, just as the bamboo endures the wind. Practical wisdom. Practice mindfulness through meditation, even if only for a few minutes a day. Let go of the need for control, understanding that change is a natural part of life. Approach each challenge with curiosity, asking, "What can I learn from this?" Inner peace is not the absence of struggle but the bastion. At 50, it becomes a treasure that sustains us through life's inevitable uncertainties. When we seek meaning beyond ourselves, we uncover the infinite. As we journey through life, we often seek fulfillment in external achievements, relationships, and possessions. Yet, the Buddhist teachings remind us that true contentment lies in connecting with something greater than ourselves, a sense of purpose, spiritual growth, and the realization of our interconnectedness with all beings. The monk and the empty bowl. A traveling monk once visited a bustling city carrying nothing but an empty bowl. As he walked through the streets, people offered him food and water. A curious merchant approached him and asked, "Why do you carry only an empty bowl? Wouldn't your journey be easier with more possessions?" The monk smiled and replied, "An empty bowl holds infinite possibilities. It reminds me to stay open to life's offerings without clinging to them." The merchant was struck by the simplicity of the monk's wisdom. He began to question his own life, filled with excess yet lacking peace. Inspired, he started practicing gratitude and mindfulness, finding joy in the simplicity of giving and receiving. Sophia's journey to meaning. Sophia, a teacher nearing retirement, often wondered if her life had made a difference. She spent her evenings reflecting on the students she had taught over the decades, feeling a mix of pride and doubt. One day, she received a letter from a former student who had gone on to become a social worker. The letter read, "You may not remember me, but you once told me I had the power to change the world with kindness. That belief has carried me through my darkest days and inspired the work I do now. Thank you." Sophia wept as she realized that the seeds she had planted had grown in ways she could never have predicted. She began volunteering in her community, mentoring young teachers and finding renewed purpose in helping others. The lesson of spiritual wealth. The Buddhist teachings emphasize that life's ultimate treasure is not in what we accumulate, but in what we cultivate within. At 50, spiritual fulfillment often becomes the most profound source of meaning. Whether through acts of service, meditation, or simply appreciating the interconnectedness of life, this treasure brings a sense of wholeness that transcends the material. Spiritual wealth is about recognizing that our lives are part of a larger tapestry. By contributing to this tapestry with compassion and purpose, we find not only fulfillment but also a legacy that endures beyond our time. Practical wisdom. Reflect on the ways your life touches others, recognizing the ripple effect of your actions. Seek opportunities to serve, whether through mentoring, volunteering, or simply offering kindness. Embrace spiritual practices that connect you to a sense of praise. Spiritual sensu power spirit. At 50, it offers the perspective and peace to look back with gratitude and forward with hope.